we've got a big full moon coming up on July 23rd, and this impacts absolutely everybody. I know there's a bunch of TikTokers and YouTubers who say it's gonna get these signs. It's not the case. Every single person is impacted by every single lunation, that would be lunar transit. And here's how it works. We all have birth charts, and in that birth chart, there are 12 houses. Those 12 houses, they represent an area of life. So depending on which house the moon is falling in, that area of life is what's highlighted during any lunar transit. We have lunar transits every day. The moon goes through 8 phases. It goes through all 12 signs in a month. This full moon on Friday packs a wallop. And why does that happen? Well, before it goes full completely, you might think it's full, but it won't be. When it's in Capricorn, it's going to be conjunct Pluto. Now, this is intense energy. It's forced evolution. That usually means we're giving something up because we're hanging on to things that don't work. That's social and cultural programming. That's ideas about what success is and isn't. It's ideas around what power is and the idea of who has it. And so we've noticed throughout 2021 and certainly during 2020 that we're redefining what it means to have power. And it also means that those who think power is dominance and control are acting out. So we can expect once a month when the moon conjuncts Pluto that we'll see these power dynamics play out. That's happening on Friday before the moon is full. I get kind of technical with this because it's important. The energy is subtle and it does make a difference. At about 7:36, 7:37 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. Now that is 10:37-ish p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. The moon becomes full at 1 degree Aquarius. Now, I know this thing called degree theory has gotten really popular. In my opinion, and just my opinion, it doesn't really bear out when we do astrological research. It kind of throws superstition into the mix. Degrees are only important when we're looking at the relationship to other planets. It's the geometry. If you want to get into mysticism, there's some deep esoteric stuff. I can't talk today. And I really don't want to edit this video, so this is just me live shooting. We'll get into fancier videos later. So there's deep esoteric things you can learn that have nothing to do with superstition. But for this, all sakes and purposes, this 1 degree Aquarius full moon is pinging the energy of the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction of 2020. That was that big action, December 21st, 2020. If you remember, a lot of people were calling you to set your intentions, work on manifestations, long-term, long-range goals, because it was setting a 20-year cycle. You're going to see some fruits bear from that manifestation. Is it going to be everything? Is it going to be the totality of it? No, it's a 20-year cycle. But you will see some fruits. You will get a hint of what you were trying to manifest. Now, depending on where that falls in your astrological chart will determine the area of life you're seeing those things. So first house, it's your physical self. It's how you're putting yourself out there. It's your understanding of self. You may be letting go of concepts about yourself that don't serve you. You may be seeing yourself in a whole new light. You may be reclaiming your power from other people. If it's in the second house, it is security, self-worth, finances. You might be letting go of ideas of scarcity and bringing in ideas that are more abundant or sustainable in nature. Third house is how you communicate. It's your transportation. If the full moon is happening in your third house, be careful while you're driving. Okay, keep your eye out for other drivers, especially if you're out that night. The fourth house is illuminating your past. Okay, so the fourth house represents your early childhood, your family of origin, or your physical home. You might be choosing to sell a home, buy a home, move houses, or improve your house. You may have repairs you have to take care of. or there just might be stuff going on in your family. The fifth house is creative self-expression. This is performance, any kind of risk taking, anywhere we can be rejected. Okay, so it could be dating, it could be dealing with your kids, it could be dealing with your artwork. It's things that we birth. It's a performance or art or a relationship, not a marriage, but just anywhere we can be rejected is the fifth house. So putting yourself out there, letting go of things that are in your way of being creative, creating things, working with that which we have created, or speculation even. Sixth house, work, health, and service. Why is it work, health, and service? Well, it's our daily bread, it's our daily routine, which impacts our health, and it's the one spot in human consciousness where we start to shift out of our close-knit ties into looking at our wider community just a little bit, and we recognize, oh, if I get sick, somebody else gets sick, or if somebody else is sick, I can get sick. Learning to give aid, learning to help people out, the quid pro quo, you scratch my back, I scratch yours, starts in the sixth house. So if the full moon is illuminating your sixth house, and you've been wanting to quit your job or get another job, you may see a job go away and another job come in. You might be more health conscious. You may set up a new healthcare regime for yourself, or a self-care regime. The seventh house is about where we commit to other people. It can be marriage. It might be a best friend. It could be a business partner. If the full moon is falling in the seventh house, you could be improving a relationship, letting go of a relationship, taking a look at where you commit, where you join with others, and how you commit to yourself. That's a very important part of that seventh house. Eighth house is how we transform. It's the mysteries. It's how we dive deep and look for solutions. Sometimes it's a crunchy transit because it's our deep psychology. It's not our subconscious. We're more conscious in the eighth house. It is our seat of natural magic. It's our mysticism. It's the occulted, the hidden, and where we go to seek answers. So a lot of times it's a very insular transit. If you can let go of the trauma story and move into your healing story, it's a very powerful space. The ninth house is expanding experiences. It's where our mind expands past where it started in our neighborhood. So if you grew up in a small town and you went to a big city, that's very ninth house. One of the other ways I describe it is the third house is the writing, the ninth house is the publishing. Not many people are going to be traveling overseas right now because of COVID. But when we do look at the ninth house, it is expanding our horizons and our mind. And with the full moon falling in the ninth house, you may be looking at getting new skills. You might be learning, thinking about teaching or professing what you know. You may be looking at creating online classes. It might be a time you're thinking about launching those. 10th house is our calling. I know a lot of people call it career, but honestly, what most people consider a career today is really 6th house stuff. It's a day job you can kind of stand that pays you good money. That's not a career. A career is not something you plan to retire from. Okay, a career is something it's just an intrinsic part of who you are. It's where you are in your power. So the 10th house is how we deal with authority figures, and it's the authority people see in us. Today in the modern world, we say that's how you show up on social media. That's how people see you in your power. You don't always see it that way. With the full moon illuminating the 10th house, you'll be noticed, and you might have a run-in with authority figures, or people may come to you as the authority, and you have to let go of that imposter syndrome. It's not doing you any good anyway. The 11th house is hopes, dreams, aspirations, inspiration, our wider friend group, our networking, our professional networks, our wider community. Why does it have all of that? Well, you can't reach your ambitions and your goals of the 10th house without a solid network. And so if the 11th house is being illuminated by this full moon, you may be shedding associations that no longer serve. Maybe you've changed your lifestyle and you're moving forward in life. If you are moving forward, you may be losing some people, but other ones are coming on in. So any losses that take place on this 23rd in any area of life, don't worry, new stuff is coming in. Okay, I know it's hard, I know it can hurt, it's kind of part of life. It also might be that you have an epiphany, that you get illumination, like you've been trying to figure something out and it pops in, or you gain a new ambition, or you gain the tools to get to that ambition. The 12th house is our subconscious, and it's our connection to source. Now, for some people who have a lot of anxiety, that full moon is going to illuminate where you can connect and soothe yourself. It would be a good idea to have some kind of spiritual practice. I'm going to talk about spiritual practices at the end of this video, so hold tight. I think there's some things the newly awakened need to understand that's very, very important. The 12th house, you might want to have a little ritual for yourself. You could do a ritual bath. You could set up something where you're writing or chanting or meditating. You want to calm your nervous system down. You might have active dreams, and you certainly might have your intuition or your reception of information enhanced. So that's the houses in a nutshell. If you want to know more about how the full moon will impact you, you can click the link in the description and go to Patreon, where I'm writing more about that. That'll be up, probably on the 22nd. I like to give people a little bit of time before I write the predictions, but I don't put them too far out. I'm preparing you with each moon sign change. So right now I'm recording this while the moon is in Sagittarius. So since the moon is in Sagittarius, and Sagittarius rules belief systems, why don't we talk about the newly awakened, people who woke up in 2020 or 2019 or even 2021? There's a lot of information out there. And unfortunately, when people leave organized religion of any kind, they leave upset, and they go and they often rush into a new belief system. That could be a magical system, it could be deity worship, it could be folklore, whatever it is, okay? It could be humanism, but they bring their dogma with them. During 2021, one of the themes is unpacking structures that really aren't helping us very much anymore. We need to innovate how we think, how we communicate, how we work together. Now, if you have concepts of original sin that are in the way, if you have concepts of, punishment and reward, there's a whole lot of people going around karma. Karma is cause and effect, okay? You have logical consequences. If you're running full speed ahead and you're looking over your shoulder, you're probably going to trip and fall. That's karma. It's cause and effect, okay? It's not necessarily a punishment. Gravity doesn't go, that person's being a fool, I think I'll trip them. That's not what's happening. So letting go of punishment and reward thinking, letting go of trying to prove you're a good person so that you don't face some horrible fate when you die. If you're worried about being a good person, guess what? You probably are, because guess what? Bad people never think about it. So it's finding your own authentic beliefs. Okay, I'm not telling you you have to believe any specific way. I'm asking you to really dismantle the beliefs that hold you back from understanding you're a valuable human being. And just by being here on this planet at this time, you are unique and needed. And so this was a really good time period to let go of some of the belief systems that are in your way and be more authentic to yourself and how you actually believe by examining that. One of the things I do as an astrologer is I like to move the narrative forward. The ancient Greeks took astrology from Chaldea, or some people call it Chaldea, and they were utilizing patriarchal ideals. As a young astrologer, 26 years ago, I noticed that both Mercury and Venus got short shrift in astrological interpretation. Oh, well, Mercury's communication and Venus is desire, and they just kind of move on from that. And there's so much that goes into communicating. If we don't develop our communication skills, we have a hard time functioning in life. And one of the reasons we have so much dysfunction on this planet as a whole is we have basically said, oh, don't worry about thinking. Somebody will think for you, right? And don't bother wanting things, because only bad people want things. And those people that have all the stuff, yeah, don't worry, they go to hell later. Sounds like control to me. I think we need to be looking at how we communicate, collaborate, play going forward. Certainly as we move closer and closer to Pluto ingressing into Aquarius, it's not going to be unity consciousness anytime soon, but we certainly need to band together. We've got climate change. It's abundantly clear. There's no reversing it at this point. Okay? It means we have to rise up to meet it. One of the other things we've got going is the need for social and cultural change across the board, coming to more egalitarianism. The only way we get there is communication, collaboration, and play. And in order to change to meet those structures, we have to unpack the dogma. And while Pluto is in Capricorn in these last couple of years, we're unpacking more and more and more. And that's part of what the astrology of the end of July actually is. So I talked about that full moon on the 23rd because that's really big, but we have a couple of other things. We have Venus ingressing into Virgo on the 21st around 6 p.m.-ish Pacific time. We're going to be valuing health and wellness a little bit more. We had that over optimism with Jupiter in Pisces from May until the 27th of July, where it will ingress back into Aquarius. And I warned people back on May 1, before Jupiter entered Pisces, put your masks on. I didn't care what the CDC was saying. What I saw was a spread of disease. Delta, right? It's spread. So we're going to be back on restrictions to some degree, but I don't see us getting locked down until November. There's a variety of astrological reasons for that, but just to interpret it is basically our authority figures are looking at acceptable losses. They're hoping that the losses that do occur force people's hands into getting the vaccine and wearing masks. As for a lot of the spiritual so-called people saying that the vaccines are going to hurt your consciousness, that makes zero sense. It makes no sense whatsoever. Science and spirituality can walk hand in hand. There's no reason not to get the vaccine. Okay, I'm vaccinated. It certainly hasn't hurt my consciousness. I'm fully able to work all of the energy work I've ever worked in my whole life. So I don't understand that line of thinking. I don't like fear mongering, and I'm not fear mongering saying do the science, because we are in a time of change and we need to use innovation to meet that change. And that's what we're looking at right now. Again, I mentioned Jupiter ingressing back into Aquarius. This is going to have us, again, taking another look at digital work, digital behaviors. You're going to see a lot of people not wanting to go back into the office, a lot more people starting online businesses. And I think we're going to start to see cryptocurrency start to edge back up a little bit. So look for prices to kind of go up around the 27th. I think they're going to start to rise. I think we'll see a floor before that. The 30th, we have Mars ingressing into Virgo. So more active. I think we'll see more people taking active steps to be healthier. I think we're going to see people preparing for winter. We have a lot coming this fall, okay? A lot is coming this fall, and it is looking like a pretty severe winter as climate change has become abundantly clear. All you have to do is look across the globe, and in the United States itself, the polar vortex is going to be extreme this year, according to astrometeorologists. So it's not just all of my own analysis. I'm looking at the charts and I'm concerned. My colleagues are concerned. It's time to prepare. And you're going to intuitively feel that if you haven't already. My patrons are discussing how to prepare for winter in our Discord server. We've got great conversations going on, and nobody's panicked, okay? People are just getting ready. And what if it doesn't happen? Donate extra food to a food bank, okay? There's a lot of people struggling economically. we are going to see people saving more, less spending. I think we're going to see some bad end of summer retail numbers. And there's a lot of propaganda going on about the need for public school. And I'm not against education in any way. I'm an academic. I love education. However, I believe our current model has really failed people, and it's been failing people for 40 years. Our current model needs to be innovative. And I have, in other capacities, not as an astrologer, worked with schools to try to innovate hybrid models, teach more tech, knowing that we were going to be in a situation where more tech was necessary, because looking out at these transits ahead of time, like 10, 15 years ago, I was like, people really need to be on the tech. It's showing more and more. We need people to be more entrepreneurial. The industrial model will be failing, and it has, So we're going to be seeing people kind of rethinking education. I don't think we're going to change it fast enough, and I think there's too many people invested into the industrialized educational model, but it would be nice to see this innovated. And I don't think the CDC is actually an expert, nor do I think the pediatricians are experts on what kids need educationally. I think people are bought into a system that has failed. I would like to see that revised and reviewed. Do people need education? Absolutely. I just think the system needs revision. And I think there's going to be some discussions around that this summer, as teachers are wondering how to meet the demands and the needs of their students as we move into the fall. So this is what we're looking at just at the end of July. And as we move into August, I'll have more updates for you. There's links in the description below. If you've got questions, certainly feel free to leave a comment. I'll do my best to answer those. Thank you, and enjoy your full moon. It can be a very magical time. I do expect it to be quite the day and a very interesting news cycle.